Hello everybody, Mithril here, and welcome to the weekly update video for OSRS. Now this week we see some Last Man Standing game mode changes. Not so much changes, but additions to. There's the Pures and Zerks. But up first there was a little bit of feedback and responses. So the first issue raised was an update on the recent world crashes that has actually been fixed now. And there was also a section now added for recent world crashes and reported item loss. So if you have any of those issues, do report those. And update on the Revenant Caves teleport delay. So the delay has been reduced from 1.8 seconds, so 3 cycles, to 1.2, so 2 cycles, as many players felt it was disproportionately punishing towards legitimate players, so they had the ability to adjust it if further needed to. So, but that has actually been done now too. So now into the juicy part of today, the updates. So there's 2 new Last Man Standing game modes. You have the Zerker, which is 75 attack and 45 prayer. And then you also have the 1 defense pure, which is 75 attack and level 1 defense. So as you can see here, you have your max/med, and then you have Zerker, and then you have your defense pure. So those are now the 3 options. So you'll be able to choose your preferred game mode in the settings button with the lobby HUD. So after Lisa's walked you through the game, of course, you can go ahead and choose your mode. So, however, the system can still choose a random game mode no matter how many people in the lobby prefer a certain game mode. This ensures a variety and prevents big groups or bots from skewing the results too heavily. So they do admit bots can, have been still leaking in. So, the system will look at preferences of the waiting players and choose which game mode enters play. For example, if most of the players wanting had Zerker in their preferred mode, a few preferred max/mid, and only 1 player chose defense pure, the game will have a high chance of picking a Zerker, a medium chance to pick the max/mid, and a very low chance to choose 1 defense pure. So kind of keep that in mind. It's going to go towards the overall, there's a better chance of the overall being the higher the number, basically. So now there's 3 separate game modes to prepare for. You'll need to properly set out your loadout, so you can do so by using supply chest in the lobby. As always, they're up for adding more item options at later dates based on suggestions. But for now, they added a choice of spellbooks. So, if your loadout includes a rune pouch, it'll enable a selection of spells whichever spellbook you selected. Standard, which is your surge spells and entangle. Ancient, ice and blood blitz plus barrage. And then you have your lunar, which is the vengeance and cure me options. But by default, you'll have access to the ancient spellbook. It's also worth noting that lunar spells will be available to 1 defense pures, as is the case with the PvP arena. And one last note on new game modes: although they are converting the minigame to accept alternate modes has taken a long time, now that the work is done, it'll be much easier to add new modes in the future. So keep that in mind. So it took a little bit to get it started, but now that they have paved the way, they can do more. There is also Last Man Standing improvements, which they said they've seen over the years. They've seen a huge number of player suggestions for items, mechanics, and PvP. Many of these are things that were preferencing game, aren't easy for them to gauge. So they used beta world in the past to mix success. Since it's often difficult to see large numbers of interaction and giving players more time to experiment as they iterate changes, So they're going to try and experiment a little more with LMS and give players the opportunity to try out new things and provide feedback on ways they can keep LMS and perhaps other PvP in places fresh. So in case they built the game modes and idea above and implement a mode solely for testing these experiments changes on a regular basis. So this week, the 3 protect prayers have been made more effective. Damage is now reduced by 30%, up from 60. Well, reduced to 30%, up from 60%. So if you're whacked for a shot that should do 100 damage, you'll take 30 damage instead of 60 with the correct prayer. So this is an experimental change designed to reward players who have taken time to develop their switch skills. They're open to reverting or rebalancing the buff, but they'll be monitoring feedback closely. So here are other improvements they made this week. Yellow notifications on the heads-up display should no longer overlap the buff bar on official clients. The buff bar will no longer show minigame ammo after you left the battle arena. And lastly, the supplies in the Last Man Standing do look pretty tasty, but you'll probably don't need to be warned that they're valuable every time you want to drop some on the floor. So they suppress those warnings inside the minigame. And you have the Dark Varrock map improvements. So they updated the starting positions for players. This map allows pairs of spawn points rather than a clump of 6, making it more like the spawns from the original Desert Island map. Loot crates are now more likely to spawn closer to the final safe zone. The map is so large that they previously kept spawning in areas that the fog had already reached. Loot chest improvements. So loot chests and crates will now check what items you already have when deciding to give you. No more getting kind of ticked off that you keep getting the same thing over and over. So first roll from Bloodier Key. This list here I'm going to post down in the description because this is a rather lengthy note here. So this will be going into the description here. Because let's just say for the max/mid first Bloodier Key there is a good 22 items. And that's just for the one section. So I'll be posting that. Feel free to look over it as you know, I'm reading over stuff. So good luck on the updating minigame. Don't forget to bid the supply chest in the lobby before embarking on the fight. Further PvP changes is the NPC PJ timer. They fixed some unintended behavior where NPCs could initiate the PJ timer. This meant that if an NPC hit a player, that player could be attacked for 12 seconds, causing frustrations in both PvP and PvM scenarios. Following this week's update, the NPCs will use a 5-second timer in line with their behavior from before the PJ timer. So here's how it works. If player B is in combat with an NPC but escapes NPC without killing it, player A cannot attack player B for 5 seconds since player B is still in combat with the NPC. Likewise, player B cannot attack player A. So once the NPC is either killed, then it is fair game. But as long as that NPC is alive, the person is protected for 5 seconds. And for PvM, if player A is in combat with an NPC A, then it moves towards NPC B from a positive position NPC A can't reach. NPC B will wait 5 seconds before attacking player A. So essentially, you have to wait 5 seconds if the whatever your previous target was, if it's an NPC, last hit, or unless it dies. The teleport delay changes. We actually just mentioned that a little bit ago. So if you're attempting to teleport from the Revenant's caves while attacking the NPCs, there will have to wait 1.2 seconds to 2 ticks before the spell to begin. No more teleporting to safety as soon as you see a little white dot appear on your mini-map. So this is to kind of prevent that. PvP bug fixes. They fixed a bug where players could not attack the player that just killed Maledictus. Fixed a bug where players could log out immediately after attacking another player with some special attacks. Fixed the bug where the players were still able to remove the freeze effect from spells like Ice Barrage and Entangle. If you see anybody still able to use that bug, or if a bug like that, please send evidence as possible via email to tipoff@jaggeds.com. They are taking that very serious. And then we have the PvP rota has moved to period B, which is 560 UK PvP, 579 US higher risk PvP, 561 UK free to play PvP, 580 US LMS competitive, and World 390 AUS LMS competitive has been deactivated with this rota. And the PvP arena is now using 1 defense pure loadouts in the ranked tournaments. There is a Pole 76 cat and piano changes. So, kick back and relax. Note these clan hall changes were included in last week's post in error. They're sharing them again to make sure nobody misses them. So just don't forget, you can check out the cat, the piano, you can play the piano a little bit. You can interact with the cat, pet it, feed it, play quietly for the piano and entertain for the piano. There's a full range of musical options, but do go and check it out. Pool 76 timeline. So what's left of Pool 76 and when are they going to be moved to Pool 77? There's only a couple jobs left in the 76, which is like the Poison Dynamite. So they do plan on going further. There is going to be a combat ring and a party chest for 76. So, but it's not too much left in 76. So expect 77 mildly soon. Other changes are they fix a rare issue where some pets weren't automatically insured. In this instance, if the player had an uninsured pet in the bank with the placeholders disabled, and that pet was also not marked in the collection log, the pet would be marked as uninsured. So they recommend double checking with Probita if you think you have an issue may have affected your pets, or if you believe your pet should have been automatically insured and it wasn't. The redemption prayer no longer drains pair points after it turns itself off. A few flowers by a house in Ardone have outgrown their pots and have been planted in the ground, allowing safe passage for any passing adventurers. Sister Senga will now reluctantly allow you to fight Pisoni's Nightmare without having defeated the Nightmare first. Just be assertive about it. World 490, USE, and 507 UK have been given the activity Guardians of the Rift, and there is some mobile known issues. So the following bug fixes launched last week. So entity highlights are working as desktop highlights on mobile clients. New tooltip UI opens the right and down regardless of screen position. Top left text is appearing as expected on mobile devices. They are aware of the following issues and working on fixing them. Haptic feedback vibrations no longer work on 207.2 point. Skill XP tooltips are displayed after switching tabs on mobile. Chat box became unusable. External keyboards have issues on iPads, and the trolley in the Garden of Tranquility does not update after placing a certain statue on it. So those are known and being worked upon. Recent world crashes was actually something we addressed in the beginning. They are aware of it, and they're still keeping an eye on it to make sure it doesn't happen anymore. And if you do have an issue, do report it. Let them know. They do understand, and they are sorry for any frustrations this is causing. But it should be fixed now. But it's something that has to still keep being kept in mind. And the short Tombs of a Mascot short story competition, we do have the winners. So, first place is a Seer Warrior. Second place, a Luku Dark. Third place is Juicy Josh. And fourth place is Transgirl Dell. So there we go. We got the 4 winners. 4 top entries, I should say. Asir is the Jackal's Torch, which you can see the story if you go to the main page and actually go read over it. Liquid Dark, they have the Blood of Scabarus. Very interesting. And Juicy Josh, you have the Exodus. And Transgirl Dell is the meaning of a name. So do check out these stories. I'm sure they're all fascinating reads. I'll have to check them out myself as well. To see what's going on there. But yeah, that is it for this week's update, guys. And do keep in mind a lot of those fixes have been put into place. It's just a point of if they still continue, please do notify them. But that'll do it for today's video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, later, guys.